I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make ginger cookies, and this is what they look like. This cookie is aptly named because not only are they ginger colored, but they're ginger flavored, and they're also sweet and buttery, and I really love the soft and chewy texture of this cookie. So when we make the batter, if you have an electric stand mixer like I have here, use your paddle attachment, or you could use a hand mixer, or really you could just use a wooden spoon. And the first thing we need is 1 cup, which is 225 grams of butter, and have your butter at room temperature. And you could use salted or unsalted. As you know, I prefer the flavor of the unsalted, but either one, whatever you have in the house. And then what I just want to do is just soften that butter until it's nice and smooth. Okay. Now this batter, it makes a large amount of cookies, about 48, which at least in my house is about a perfect amount because these will disappear quickly. And you can also freeze them, which is great. So as always, scrape the bottom and the sides of your bowl as much as you need to. And now we're going to add our sugar. You will need 1 cup, which is 205 grams of firmly packed light brown sugar. And then I'm just going to beat this on medium-high speed. We want to get a little bit of air into our batter. So until it's light and fluffy, that's probably, if you have a stand mixer, about 2 minutes. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. It's kind of got a little air in there, and it's all nice and creamy smooth. So just a good scrape here. So now what we're going to add is 2 large egg whites, which by weight is about 60 grams, and have that at your egg whites at room temperature. And then I'm just going to add a little vanilla extract. If you prefer not, you can leave it out. Just a ½ a teaspoon, which is about 1 gram. And then we need to add some molasses. I like to use the unsulfured molasses, and I'm using a light. It has a little milder flavor. Of course, if you want a more pronounced molasses flavor, you could use dark. And you will need 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters, or if you want to go by weight, that's about 90 grams. And when you measure out molasses, because it's so sticky, what I do is you can either lightly oil, or I just spray the inside of my measuring cup. And that way, it should, at least, it comes out fairly easily. As you can see, it doesn't stick. Makes life easier. So I'm just going to beat all this together. Okay. So that molasses really starts to color our batter, that pretty ginger color. And don't worry if you have a little bit of curdling, because we did add a lot of liquid. Your batter will smooth right out once we add our flour. So you will need, in a separate bowl, 2 2/3 cups of, which is 345 grams, of all-purpose flour, or you may know that as plain flour. And then what we're going to add, we need ginger, of course, ginger cookies, 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, which is 2 grams, and 1 teaspoon, 2 grams of ground cinnamon, and ½ a teaspoon, 1 gram of ground cloves. Now, you could adjust the amounts of your spices to your taste. If you don't like ground cloves, you could either, ease that off or just leave it out. Or if you want a little more ginger flavor, you could add more. Or, especially with adults, if you want, you could cut up some crystallized ginger and put that in here. And then you will need ½ a teaspoon, 2 grams of salt. I like to use a kosher salt because I find it has a little milder flavor. but you could use a table salt if that's what you prefer. And then you will need 2 scant teaspoons, about 10 grams of baking soda. So now I'm just going to whisk all of this together. You want to make sure it's all mixed in, all those spices and the baking soda and salt. Otherwise you can get clumps, especially with the baking soda, because if you get clumps, you'll like get a slight bitter flavor, which we don't want in our cookies. So now I'm just going to add all my flour here. And I'm going to mix it in. Now I like to have my mixture on low speed to start because I don't want, that's a lot of flour and I don't want it coming up in my face. I can really smell all those spices, so good. You will find it's really difficult to eat just one of these cookies. Okay, so now I'm going to give this just a quick stir because I still have some flour on the sides of my bowl. So now what we need to do, this, as you know, you can see this is a really soft batter right now. And we need it chilled because we're going to roll it into little balls to bake our cookies. So what you want to do is just cover and place it into the refrigerator. And since this takes about an hour at least, you could do it longer or even overnight, what Rick and I are going to do is we're going to go out for a bike ride, because St. Simon's Island is just so bike friendly, unlike the big city, and lots of great paths. The drivers are so courteous. It's like such a treat. And then I get to look at all the nice houses, or the cool looking houses in the neighborhood. So when we come back, we will bake our cookies. So once your batter has been chilled and you're ready to make your cookies, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you'll need a couple baking sheets, and you can line them with parchment paper like I've done here, or you could either just lightly butter them or spray them with one of those non-stick cooking sprays. And then you will need to form your batter into about 1-inch balls, which is 2.5 centimeters. Or what I like to do, which I find easiest, is I just weigh my batter, and for each one I use about 15 grams of batter. And if you do that, that way you know everyone is the same size so that they all bake at the same amount of time. So either, whichever way you prefer, and then just roll it. And then what we're going to do is, in a separate bowl, have about 1 cup, 200 grams of granulated white sugar, and then you're just going to roll your batter, just completely coat it into the sugar, and then put it onto your baking sheet like that. And then space each one, you know, about 2 inches apart, because they will spread. That's about 5 centimeters. Okay, so this is our last one. Roll it in the sugar. And then just take a glass, and I just put in the sugar, and then we're just going to flatten our cookies just a little. Okay, and so now, how long do you bake them? Well, of course, everybody's oven is a little different, and it depends how crispy or how soft and chewy you want your ginger cookies. My family likes them quite soft, so I find about 8 to 10 minutes, and what you're looking for is the outside of the cookies is, you know, firm to the touch, but in the center, they're still a little soft, so about 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, our ginger cookies are done. Now you will notice some cracking on the top. That's the way it's supposed to be. And like I said, the outside is firm, but yet the centers are still a little soft. So I'm just going to let them cool on a wire rack in the pan for a couple minutes just so they can firm up. And when we come back, we will try one. Okay, so we're ready to try one. This is a really great tasting cookie. It's sweet, it's buttery, and then you have the flavor of the spices, which actually, I find the flavor, that spiciness, actually comes out even more after you store them overnight, but it's still really good. And soft and chewy, so good. Make some. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.